What is the most morally wrong thing you have ever done? I'm ashamed to admit it, but I ran near the pool once. Wow, that's messed up. I lied about my age online when I was 14 to get dick pics from a guy older than me. I had no idea how illegal it was at the time. I thought people were just prudes for rejecting me for being too young. Oof, that's a big one. I drove my mom to suicide on purpose. In my defense, she was a rapist. Wow. I've sneaked candy into movie theaters. You know, back when we could go to movie theaters. Wow. I never thought of myself as morally wrong before. I'm not being that serious anyway. I don't think anyone really cares that much or enforces it seriously. I just wanted to feel rebellious about a mild thing. When I was 9, I got into an argument with my big brother 13. He said something hurtful to me and I stewed in it while he cleared boxes from my mother's office that we were both helping her clean. I noticed that he was walking in a pattern. And then I found a sewing needle. Instead of disposing of it, I placed it in the carpet where I knew he was going to step. It lodged itself into his heel and another brother 15 had to yank it out with a rather hefty set of pliers. I had to excuse myself so I could laugh maniacally to myself out of earshot. I told him the truth 5 years later and apologized sincerely. I might add. He just sat there silently as I told him the story. I don't think I have ever seen a human face that red before or since. I thought I was bad when I rubbed a grape on my sweaty sock for my sister to eat. She was fuming when I started laughing. I once told my brothers that I was sorry about an argument we had had and that I left them a gift in their room. I gifted them kitty poop. The last thing I ever said to my dad was "Go beep yourself." He had just told me that he had been given a terminal diagnosis. I had 2 years to apologize to him. I never did. I can never forgive myself for it and contemplate suicide on a daily basis. No, no, no. Don't. Please. Live on. I'm sure he would never want you to do that. How was your relationship with him before that? Talk to people about this. I wish I had some great advice or could help in some way. I was born. Birth is not an action carried out by you. Please try again. Probably when I was selling fake drugs to make money for real drugs, or when I got kicked out of a church for being drunk after loudly announcing it to a friend when I was expecting the silent service to be a lot louder than it was. Thinking about it, overall I'm a very morally ambiguous person. One year I went trick-or-treating and saw one of those bowls of candy with that cliché sign saying to use the honor system and only take one piece of candy. I took 2. Exercise naked in front of a neighbor. Sometimes I teabag after getting a KO. Too many beeping things. What was my 15-year-old self thinking? I lied about a friend getting into a car crash so that I had a reason to get out of a public event I felt forced into. Played split-screen co-op with friends on a number of games. I would look at their side of the screen so I could kill them. I still feel ashamed to this day. My 9Y/0 nephew asked me 37 about a week ago, what's the worst bad thing you've ever done? And I remember just looking off into space and then telling him, well nephew, I don't think anyone ever really does something they think is bad at the time. So that's really hard to answer. I ended up telling him about some nasty things that I did. But did basically by accident. Meaning I wasn't really trying to hurt the person, even though that is undeniably what happened as a result. So, I'd say for everyone here. Try to remember the context and things that led to you. The doer. Doing those things that by themselves as a one-liner don't read very well. I'm not even sure it's the action that any of us should feel terrible about. As much as the feelings. The story. And the lead-up that resulted in us doing some things that, in the absence of that context, look pretty hard to defend to a moral judge and jury. I have this friend. And I've been pushing her further and further away. Because I've felt like I needed room to deal with my own issues. Now she's extremely depressed and has admitted that I was one of the things holding her together. When I was a teen 30 years ago, I stole one of those fundraiser jars on the counter of a convenience store, the ones with a picture of a kid taped to it with a note saying something like, "Mary Jane has cancer. Please donate for her medical bills," and bought weed with it. Before you flame me too much. I was arrested for the weed within 15 minutes of purchase. That's the day I learned. Karma is a ruthless bitch. Without getting into details. Somebody I knew was going to have something great happen to them. And I was extremely envious. So I went behind their back and sabotaged it for them. Do you regret doing it? In a way, yes, since this person was actually incredibly nice to me. But I genuinely don't even know how I would have coped if I had to see them actually get it. Stole a book. Try committing suicide. The only reason why I'm still here till this day is if that tree branch didn't break. When I was in the Navy, I went to get a dude in my squadron to go do a plane move. He was looking at some kind of porn on his computer and jumped like a mother peeper and scrambled to close the laptop when I called his name. And was like, if you saw anything, it wasn't mine. What I managed to see looked grainy and amateur, but I couldn't see what was going on. If it was regular porn, we would have had a LOL about it and moved on. So it was one of two things. It was either gay porn, which is fine but at the time not allowed in the Navy. Or it was something much worse. I suspect it may have been child porn because I'm not sure that dude was gay, but I don't have that good of gaydar. The thing that eats at my conscience is that I have never told a soul until now. If I was certain that it was child porn, definitely I would have said something. But if I said something and was wrong and he got outed for being gay or something, I would never be able to forgive myself. I've been sending cock photos since I was 13 the other party agreeing. And thinking 8 was of age. I used my left hand once. Ah, that's just beeped. I have to keep these to my adult life because anything else is beep that I need to not be blaming myself for. And I don't mean that as a blanket statement that you aren't in control of yourself before 18. Anywho. Definitely gotta go with the time I cheated on someone with a guy that was also in a relationship, a questionably open one from my understanding at the time. My relationship was abusive and a mess. And I'd been trying to get away from him for years. We started dating when I was 15 and he was 18. And I turned him down repeatedly. I met a guy when I was at my breaking point who actually treated me kindly and cared about me. And I had taken a number of measures to keep myself from making a mistake. Including trying to break up with him again. No such luck. We have a fight. I end up at the guy's place. We broke up not that long after. But not before a couple more breakup attempts. I was legitimately sabotaging the relationship subconsciously at that point. That's probably the worst thing I've done morally speaking. I'm a pretty kind person who doesn't like getting in trouble. And I've had people do a lot of awful things to me in my life. Yesterday, I bought 18 beers that were supposed to last entire week. Now I have a hangover. Pocketed a cool Lego guy from my friend Ethan's house when I was 5. I cheated on a girl with her friend. Then dated them both for half a year. I suppose some people would call this morally wrong. But after a former friend stabbed me in the back, I set up a throwaway email account and contacted her husband to give him chapter and verse of when she had cheated on him over the preceding 3 years. He left her and took the kids with him. And they're now divorced. I reported my drug-addicted cousin to the police and he later got arrested. I drove him to suicide. Slept with other men's wives. First one. Didn't know they weren't separated. She lied about that. Second one. Technically RPED me. Third one. I was a selfish, inconsiderate asshole in a dark place. But still fking vile. Karma has definitely come around and bitten me in the butt as I deserved. I am on board with you, but what goes around comes around. Beeping another man's wife is like taking tools without permission. Using and abusing them, then putting them back all beep up. I have regrets. I showed some younger kids in the church how to call on of those 1-900 sex talk numbers that existed pre-internet. Well, these kids didn't understand the importance of being discreet when it came to breaking the rules. They all got busted. And one of them ended up at a military boarding school. I went to Pure Affinity to see what all the fuss is about. Now I don't trust my carpet. One time I got into a really heated argument with some girl at school about cockroaches, beeping cockroaches, and I called her a whore. Cause at the time that was my go-to insult, even though it makes zero sense in the context. I regret it every day. To be fair, I am extremely passionate about entomology, and she kept aggressively insisting that the cockroaches that live in our school gym were Madagascan hissing cockroaches that escaped a science lab and somehow mutated into super cockroaches that can survive in Idaho in the middle of beepin' winter. I kept trying to tell her that I found a dead one that was very obviously an oriental cockroach, and also she brought up how she thinks cockroaches can pick a live human to the bones in 3 minutes and also do so regularly. And then she called me a communist. Which is another insult that makes absolutely no sense in the context. To be fair, I did have the Communist Manifesto in my backpack. A girl was talking about me, so I spread some rumor about her that was half true. I have no regrets though. Apparently use bidets. According to some of my American friends. OMG, you monster.